in general, I think the intentions are positive. But I think my first concern is, whilst there's undoubted flaws in the current planning system, there are a lot of positives that shouldn't be written off. And I think, as Linda and Jonathan and Laura said, it seems like the white paper goes in a sort of blind sweep through it and looks for a full reform, which I don't think is actually the correct route. The white paper doesn't go into too much detail about the mechanics of these reforms, so it's quite difficult to fully understand how they'll be actioned. And the comment that Jonathan's already made about the principle of development will be secured automatically in many cases. This seems to be an oversimplification, and this is further backed up in the Pillar 1 under some of the earlier proposals, which appear to move towards a high level of determination away from the localised decision making. It feels as though sites could be pigeonholed as a high level without the right level of community and local government engagement. This local knowledge is key to tailoring development, supporting innovation and driving placemaking. And on a more personal note, and as an architect, I think without this, it could diminish the role we have in creating successful places. I don't think time should be considered an enemy in either determination of planning applications or production of local plans. I think time just needs to be better spent and more effectively used. Engagement needs to be ongoing rather than stagnated in both applications and production of local plans. And one question is, should local plans be a continually developed moving target to recognise that society and the built environment are too? And this is none more so evident than in the current situation with COVID-19, Brexit, climate change, all being major influences. The processes surrounding the administration of planning applications seems to be a less problematic area to resolve through cohesive planning submission, monitoring processes, accessibility, community awareness, development. So these are all positive encouragements, and they do need to be addressed on a countrywide scale. I think one of the large shortfalls in the paper for me is on climate change and the need for further power from the top to drive and incentivise developers and their associated industries to push construction methods, sustainable technology and minimum standards. And as an architect, I see too often developers driven by margins and comfort in traditional construction methods, especially under D&B procurement types. In conjunction with this, I feel the planning system and building control system need to be better aligned to ensure targets and sustainable objectives driven at planning stage are followed through to completion. They should then be tested at post-occupation stage to help inform future development and policy. At the moment, it feels like planning and building control are two separate elements with little crossover, bar conditions, discharging conditions, and set building standards. But there's an opportunity, I think, to engage in, especially in sustainable design, at a planning stage and ensure this is followed through cohesively. The white paper seems to focus mainly on new housing to make up the shortfall in stock, but there seems to be little connection to existing housing stock. And I think, as Linda mentioned, houses within streets or areas within existing built-up residential areas seem to be lost in the white paper. And there's also the serious issue about empty and vacant homes in the country, over 250,000, which doesn't seem to be presented or represented in the white paper. I think my final point really is on logistics of the rollout of the reform planning process and how does this affect local authorities and their resourcing. Most are overstretched or under-resourced, so how will they manage this against current workloads is fundamental, and there doesn't seem to be any real address of that situation. So they're the main points I've picked up, really.